Well, in the Supreme Court opinion of 6 weeks ago, which was the Humanitarian Law Project versus Holder case, uh, that opinion blurred the line between material support and which has a material character to it, and thought crimes, because the First Amendment protects speech, it protects freedom of thought. But in the course of arguing the case, Elena Kagan was presented with the question, if a lawyer were to provide legal advice to an organization that the Secretary of State had forbidden, would it be possible that the lawyer would be providing material support by providing legal advice, oral legal advice? And Kagan said, well, yes, that would be material support, even though it was just speech. The Supreme Court, in the opinion, said that the court would have to take up case by case what the difference between material support would be, which would be illegal, and expression of support that would be protected by the First Amendment, that would be non-material. But on that line between what would be material and what would be non-material support, we have an area that's completely gray. And because it's going to be determined on a case-by-case basis, it means that federal law enforcement will be able to issue subpoenas, bring criminal charges in a way that's unpredictable legally, so it's impossible for lawyers at this point to advise people on where that line is. And it's only going to be able to be determined over time as the Supreme Court is presented with individual cases, and they will tell us then over time where that line is drawn, but it's only going to be in retrospect, case by case, which means it's going to take a decade or more to figure out whether leafleting on a street corner is material support because it involves handing out pieces of paper. That is material. Certainly, if you think about support, if you talk about support, perhaps that is protected. But how far that speech and that abstract support goes into the material realm before it becomes something that the Supreme Court will consider as material support that can be criminalized is uncharted territory. We simply don't know.
And of course, 6 of the 8 raids last Friday by the FBI on the peace activist community were in Minneapolis, where there's been a history since 9/11 of FBI harassment or FBI targeting of the local Somali community. Could you just give a brief kind of narration of that harassment since 9/11?
Well, the Somali community initially was investigated because of the money transfer businesses that were in Minneapolis long before 9/11, and the original investigations were of these money transfer systems, the Hawalas. However, after the United States hired Ethiopia essentially to invade Somalia, then a number of young Somalis went back to Somalia to defend the homeland. The original idea that was put out by the government was that the Somalis were going back to Somalia to be trained to come back and form terrorist cells in the United States, which of course never has been proven to be the case. There have been no prosecutions or convictions of any of the Somalis for actually having engaged in acts of violence or terrorism in the United States. But because that occurred, one of the largest anti-terrorism investigations in history has been going on in Minnesota for at least the last 5 years. Enormous resources have been devoted to searching out people in the Somali community to be informants. There have been grand jury investigations going on almost continually for the last 5 years. There have been searches of homes, grand jury subpoenas, and a number of guilty pleas for material support. Almost all of them, there have been about 7 now, I think, perhaps 1 or 2 less, have been for material support based on young Somali men having been in Somalia, and the material support has been their bodies physically being in Somalia. And then the other convictions, there have been pleas of guilty based on the Somalis who have been interviewed by federal officials not telling the truth in the first interview. And it's, of course, a federal crime to lie to a federal official. And in exchange for pleas to relatively minor offenses, then there's cooperation in which the deal is that the Somalis will then tell what they know about other Somalis. But in all of this time, there has not been one prosecution or conviction or plea to anything like conspiracy or raising of funds or anything having to do with weapons. And the material support has only been material support involving one's body being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The only other convictions have been not telling the truth about what one knows, not anything having to do with acts of criminality beyond that. So this whole mechanism that's been set up in Minnesota has resulted in the sorts of convictions I've just mentioned to you. And now that that mechanism, investigative mechanism, exists, and the standards for what material support means have been lowered, it now makes sense that that mechanism and that investigative structure would turn itself to be looking for other sorts of material support, which could involve activists who are concerned with U.S. policies anywhere in the world. And since we don't know what exactly what material support is exactly anymore, then people are concerned about Colombia or Palestine or struggles against U.S. policy anywhere in the world. Means we have to assume that the use of these techniques that the Somali community has experienced will be applied to other communities as well.
Any signs that the Somali community and the local peace activism community, which was targeted a week ago, will begin kind of teaming up in solidarity with each other?
Well, I just talked to one of the imams a few minutes ago exactly, and that's precisely what he suggested.